Guess what's back? Business and Brews, where real business talk meets real people, and always fueled by a good brew. This time we're going podcast first, bite-sized, insightful, and built for conversations you'll want to share. I'm your host, Matt Pierce, founder and CEO of Immediate, and I'll be sitting down with leaders, entrepreneurs, and friends to talk about leadership, growth, and the stories that make business worth talking about. So grab your favorite brew, pull up a chair, and let's talk business the way it's meant to be talked about. Business and Brews, back, bolder, better than ever. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Business and Brews. I'm your host, Matt Pierce, and today we're joined by Kelsey Weaver, partner at Castle Creek Launchpad. Kelsey, thanks for being here with us.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
I know you have been traveling a ton recently. Every time I talk to you, you're in some new exotic place. Where are you today?
I'm in the exotic island of Weehawken, New Jersey. I do
Ooh,
have my coffee ready for us.
okay. Any shout outs for the coffee? Is it local New Jersey coffee or?
I'd like to give a shout out to Sia Vancia, who made it for me, one of my dear friends, and also a force of nature in the fintech and banking space. She's head of fintech and brand for Connect One. So it's
Cool.
coffee by Sia and her mug.
Awesome. Is it a K-cup or did she like do
It's a
some
pour
French press?
over,
Ooh,
pour over. It's
that's
fancy.
fancy.
Yeah,
Well, there you
and
go.
it's delicious.
We've known each other for a while. Castle Creek Launchpad is a major investor at Immediate, so thank you. I appreciate all you guys' support over the years, but would love to hear about your story and what's kind of led you to Castle Creek Launchpad.
I will say my journey has been a little bit more like a squiggly, and you got to zoom out to make it all make sense. But if I go to the beginnings, and it'll all make sense when I tie it together. But I grew up in Nashville. I went to the University of Alabama on scholarship. I don't know if you're an Auburn or Alabama fan,
I
but
don't think time out. I don't think I knew this. I'm an Auburn grad. How have we known each other this long and I didn't know that that you went to
wait for it.
Alabama?
Wait for it. I went for a semester in a couple weeks,
Okay.
and then I decided to drive home. And I didn't think it was for me. I'm not necessarily the best sorority girl and all that stuff.
Okay.
Big school wasn't for me. I drove home, took a semester off, got my real estate license, went to Belmont University and paid my way through real estate to pay off my college. And all of that to say, I met Bill King when I was a senior in college, graduating. Don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And I hand him my resume, which has no gaps in it because I sped up. I graduated in 4 years. And he throws it to the side and he's like, "So you dropped out of college. Tell me about that." And I'm like what? And he actually, ended up, Bill King is the owner of Bank Director. He's a very successful entrepreneur throughout his career. He sold 24/7 sports and a bunch of different things. And he used to swim with my dad in the morning. So he would hear about me as the favorite child that my dad was always telling stories about. And he loved that I followed kind of my conviction, and, that I didn't know how important Bill was. And so it's kind of gotten me through my career like this, which is I treat everyone the same. But he ends up saying, like, "I want to hire you as my project person. I like, your grit and the fact that you follow us. You sound like a self-starter." And so I took this job with Bill King, not knowing where it would lead, because he owned a bunch of companies. And my first gig was actually working. I thought the iPhone was going to be a big deal.
You're right.
Built out Local Eats was the top paid dining app, and we got to do an Apple commercial and built out a gift card program, which was my first foray into like banking and payments.
Yeah.
And then right after that, he's like, I wanted to move to California, and a handshake. He's like, "Well, if you do this job for 1 year, then I'll invest in you and you can do your own thing." That was Bank Director, which kind of threw me into the banking world.
Right.
And, 10 years later, I was still there. I didn't know that I wanted to go into banking, but I fell in love with the people. And so I became the publisher at Bank Director, started FinXTech for them. The idea of, fintech was going to put banks out of business. And it's like, this is silly. They're building the wrong thing. Let's put them together. And I would
Mm-hmm.
say like that kind of was the genesis of what I today am probably known for, which is being a connector of sorts. When you run a media company, you want to make sure everyone's happy and they meet the right person that solves their problem. So I'm like the operator. I don't always know the answer to anyone's questions, but I know who might know it. And
Right.
I'm always happy to connect them. So that's probably the thread and what got me. I've done my own startup, and now I'm on the other side. So I went from media to consulting, launching FinXTech, and then doing a startup. Now I'm on the other side, and I know what to look for, what the journey's like for a founder, and what always a warning sign in the fintech space.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Oh,
so
cool.
now I'm with Castle Creek Launchpad and I'm loving it.
Awesome. Well, it's so I'd love to hear you said something in there. I'd love to hear how your thoughts on this have evolved over time. What you said was that how fintechs were going to kill banks. How is that? I have opinions. I know you do too. I would love to hear how that thought or that statement has changed over time the more you've worked with, because you've worked with a lot of banks, like gotten to know a lot of people at banks. You've worked with a lot of fintechs. How do you think they kind of coexist and create this space where we can all flourish? Or do you still think fintechs are going to kill banks?
I mean, I've always have a collaborative, I'm a cynical optimist, but I always believe in kind of collaboration versus competition. When fintech was going to put banks out of business, it was like the markets had just crashed and SoFi is coming out and, there's like breaking banks and there was all this kind of like angst and people didn't trust banks, right? So they tried to build, but what I learned was also that the fintechs that thought that didn't need banks also didn't know what a regulator was.
Right.
So it was like this whole piece of like, fintech as a term, it's just technology for banks. So it came out. My brother actually thinks I invented the term, which is a fun fact, because I started FinXTech. So he's like, "Look, your word is in the paper." But I think that kind of came out as a genre or category, and I feel like at the end of the day, a bank serves a really pivotal and important role and purpose in its community. And I think they're not supposed to be technologists. You want them
Mhm.
to be good bankers. And
Right.
so I think it's like any good partnership or relationship or whatever it is, it's you want to have complementary skill sets. And so in my mind, fintech and banking go hand in hand because banking today is not going into the branch as you mentioned when I'm bouncing around the country.
Right. Yeah.
You still need access to money, and it's not because you go to your local bank branch. It's
Right.
you need and I do still bank with a locality, which is a community bank out of Fort Lauderdale. So I can still use them as I travel, and I think that's
Yeah.
kind of the power of fintech and being able to serve the customer better.
That makes total sense. It's the same thing that like you've been through building a business. You've worked with a lot of different smart people. And to me, the people in this world and the businesses in this world that are the most successful are those that lean into their strengths. Right. And so you think about that when you're a bank, you just said it like as a bank, like you want them to focus on the things that they do really well and then strategically partner with fintechs to do the technology side of things because that's what they do really well. And when you do that, I think it's like this force multiplier, which I think is really,
Yeah, and
really
you see
cool.
a lot of the successes, like those partnerships where you have a bank, like a Grasshopper, or when the same kind of team is at Radius Bank, when they'll be the first kind of guinea pig and help you shape your technology and actually be a partner. I mean, there's a lot of really good kind of banks out there that have embraced fintech, and I think have been really successful because of it, and helped the fintech build the right product and shape the path. And I think that's like what the ideal kind of fintech bank partnership is.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Well, so where you are today, I'm a big fan of the people that you work most closely with. I've gotten a chance to spend a lot of time with them over the years, and just really smart, passionate people um, who are also just genuinely good, fun people. So you're working with a really good group. What are some things that you've kind of learned being a part of Castle Creek Launchpad? Are there any things that you kind of like came into Castle Creek with? Like, here's some thoughts about the VC investment world that have changed or evolved since you've gotten there. And are there things that you feel like is like really started to stretch you professionally over the past? You've been there for like year and a half, is that right?
No, not even. It feels like that. Yeah. We definitely like it's a really strong match. I think we're all pretty happy. It feels like we've been working together for a very long time because it kind of clicks. I've known both sides, both the Castle Creek side and Launchpad. Met Ryan actually when I was starting FinXTech. He was an
Okay.
advisor.
Yeah.
So I've known them all for a long period of time. I would say, you know, it's an honor to be associated with either or both brands. And I definitely have watched Castle Creek through the years when I was at Bank Director or FinXTech. They're definitely like the gold standard of understanding community banks and taking when they invest in a bank. I'm learning a lot on that side of the house because that's not something that I know the people side and I know enough to be dangerous across the board. But on the VC side, I think, a lot of people think if you bet, if you have a portfolio of companies, you really only need like one horse to win and then you've done a good job. I've never, so I've always kind of had a little, not a chip on my shoulder about it, but always kind of, I don't know, if you're right 1/10 of the time, are you really good at what you do? And part of the role that I play and Chris Eggemeyer is my go-to on the day-to-day of working on this with me is working with the portfolio companies, which we're lucky to have some great ones, helping train the horse so that you can have horses that win every race, right? So I don't subscribe to the if we get one right, then we win. I think it's much more, and that I guess was something I took in as a perspective. And by working with this team, I've learned how much more goes into the capital structuring and the term sheets and the valuation when it's a bubble and when it's this and how you want to. My team, I do think the world of is that they really care about our portfolio companies, and there's a lot more hands on and interactions than I ever, coming into it with my attitude of the 1 in 10 horses, thinking they're just like revisionist history where they think they're good because they were right.
Right.
But our team, Ryan and Jurgen, really take a vested interest and help our portfolio companies. And as I've done a startup before too. It's like there's really hard times, and you don't always know how to navigate whether it's people, situations, the capital, the timing of the raise, all of that. Like you need trusted partners, and I think it's really fun to be that. To be able to provide, we each kind of have a different flavor of help, but we
Hmm.
each help our portfolio companies in different ways. And I think it's really fulfilling. Like it feels good at the end of the day to feel like you're doing something more than just giving people money.
Right.
'Cause anyone
Well,
could do that.
I,
It's
I
cool.
would I would echo what you just said. That's something that I've found really valuable with your organization is there are different skill sets and strengths from all those people you just mentioned, and I've leaned on all of them multiple times. Some like a lot of multiple times. I talk to Jurgen pretty much every Friday, and a lot of times it's me calling to tell him good things, and sometimes it's me calling him to go, I've got no clue what to do on this and need some perspective. So, and for you, I think bringing a fresh perspective into this organization and working with Chris. Chris is such a bright guy. Every time I go to San Diego, we get together and have coffee or a meal, and I really enjoy
He's a
our
humble rock
conversation.
star. Yeah, he's
Right,
he's awesome.
right, and he's just such a solid guy in general, just like a good person, right? Like, and I think that's one of the things that you find. And when you're building a business is you're not just looking for money. Some people do, and I think they're doing it the wrong way, right? You're not just looking for money. You're looking for a strategic long-term partner, and you're looking for the type of people that you trust and feel confident that I can pick up the phone and call whether it's good or bad, and I'm going to get good sage like direction and wisdom. And that's something that I've been really pleased with from your team. So let's do this. You do a lot of different things. You're traveling a lot. You have many skills. Is it true that you have recently been published? Is that
Yes, I will. I am fairly known, I would say, that for my doodles, or I think I might have mentioned I travel with markers and cardstock, and I'm always making cards and things like that. But yes, I did just get my first hardback copy to be published.
okay?
I did the
Think like a brand,
illustrations.
not a bank. There we go. Second
Yeah,
edition.
so
Okay.
Allison Netzer, she's a force of nature as far as brand and marketing. And if you've met me, I'm very passionate about that, especially in the banking space and how do you resonate and how do you stand out. And this is a great book, but I got to do the different doodles. This is to show kind of the how everyone plays a role, and when everyone's doing their job, it sounds really great all together. But you have to be kind of on the same song sheet. So I got to do the doodles for her book when she sent me kind of the here's the rough draft. And I was like, oh, this might be really great if you had some images or doodles. And by the way, if you want some, let
I'm
me
here.
know. And she
Right.
was like, are you serious? And so, yeah, I was actually shocked. She even put my picture on the back. So
Cool.
feel like
That's
I'm getting a little bit more credibility than I
yeah.
maybe earned. But yeah, it was a fun kind of Christmas project. I was in South Africa doodling on in the middle of the bush on my iPad.
Well, two questions I was gonna ask. One was I know you say go around with like markers and cardstock. Were you doing this like physical and then would like upload it somehow, or would you would use your iPad while you're doing it like with a stylus?
So Well, two different ways, depending on, where I was and how much battery's in my iPad. So I was sketching both in my notebook, and then I sketch the idea or write out the ideas that I think I want to do, draw it on my iPad, take a picture of it, upload it to ChatGPT, or whatever tool, and say, here's like what I'm doing, and here's my style, and here's what I want to do. Let it spit out what it thinks. And obviously, there's still, then I re-upload that back into my Procreate, delete stuff, fix it.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a process.
Yeah.
And I won't say I didn't use AI. I did not solely use AI, and I don't think, it's getting better, but you really it can't fully replace kind of, and especially on the creativity side, like you have to think of what you want, but it definitely helped. And I have my iPad here as well, but I still, for someone that loves technology, I still think that there's something to a hardback book. I've seen it
Right.
digitally, but it's so much cooler to
Right.
see it on an actual book. But yeah, so that's a pretty fun. I do doodle and post things on LinkedIn and have fun with that. But I just I think that there's sometimes you can explain things so much better with a visual
Right.
than a million words.
Right. And
But yeah.
it sticks with you more. And for you, maybe I'm a big note taker during calls or meetings. I'm still traditional, like give me a pen and paper. I retain things so much better if I'm doing that. If I'm sitting there listening, I get a lot of it. But if I'm able to write things down, I just have like one, I think when you write it, at least for me, I get like an image in my head of what was on my notebook. And there's times where I'm like, wait a second, I met with so and so. And in my mind, I'll go, I remember what that page looks like. And I can literally just like thumb back through my notes and go, okay, and I can like recall things kind of well that way. Are you like that, but with drawing, like doodling, like drawing images? Do those things like trigger memories for you? Or is this more of just like, this is helping me stay focused by like quieting the creative part of my brain so I can focus on other things?
I mean, I think that there's a challenge in operating kind of like playing. I used to do banking on the right side of the brain. I think there's the left brain, right brain element that having to process something and figure out how to draw it and what
Hmm.
would be a good visual is a good neuroplasticity exercise, so
Ooh,
to speak.
there we go. Hey, that's the first time that word has been used on this podcast. So hats off.
Bingo. But, yeah, I don't even know where it came from, but I am someone that carries around. I have a notebook like you. In meetings, I will say I take notes. I don't reference back to my notes that often, but something about writing it makes it go into my brain better. But like you, I can picture which notebook I had that day
Right.
or something like that. I try desperately not to doodle, try to focus with the all the tabs and the things you could be doing and be like, so taking notes is also a good discipline for me to not start doing anything else. But yeah, so I think I did more like kind of it started more on the cart. Like I try to be really thoughtful. I listen to people, and I'm like pride myself on being a good gift giver and all that. So I think the doodles have been more started that way. And now I'm like finding ways to fold it in. Because I just think it's a different way that helps people click. And to your point on when you write and you read back on your notes, like I am not an audible learner. I
Hmm.
learned that all through school. I would rather read the textbook and then I get it. But like if you just want me to understand something conceptually, I'm like, can you send me a deck or literature? Like I
Right.
really have to look at something to understand it
Right.
instead of like an audible book or something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm
Very
much
cool.
more of a read, learn by seeing.
Well, I used to when I was in grad school, we had a room that was like in a big U, like the auditorium rooms like in college where, you couldn't really see other people. You just see the back of everybody's heads. This was like in the shape of a U. I'm not as talented as you, but I would just pick a different person sitting across from me that day and I would draw them. And sometimes it would be like me actually trying to draw them. Other times it would be like caricatures or whatever, but I would just draw them during, like I'd listen, but I would just be drawing. And then at the end of the day, when we would walk out, I would just walk over and I'd just like hand on the piece of paper and walk away, and so that gave my
But I love
yeah,
that. I love that
yeah. I'm like,
bullish
this guy's just
mentality.
drawing people.
I'm always
So
fascinated when I see someone doodling. I'm like, what are they drawing? And I want to call out. I wish I remembered what it was. Bergen was like doodling in a meeting the other day, and it was one of the funniest. I'll see if I can find it. I think it was like a banana, very detailed, and there wasn't one in the room. It was a very funny. It was just, you never know what's like happening, and someone who's
yeah,
totally engaged in talking.
Right.
and also drawing something, and I'm like, what did he draw?"
Drawing really good still fruit. That's an
Yeah,
interesting choice. I would
I
not
took
have.
a picture of it
Yeah,
to my share.
send that to me. I would not have pictured that's what I would think Jurgen's like, I don't know, like, I don't know what I would think he would be doodling, but it would be something, like, very manly, like, or like a rugby player, or like something
Yeah, he's
going
just, like,
on.
drawing rugby balls all the time.
Yeah, just like this a rugby ball. Yeah, I mean, I, like, grew up, I'd be, like, drawing footballs and everything was sports, right? Like, this guy was a professional athlete. I figured he would be doing
This
things
is
like
his
that.
softer side.
Right? Yes, that's great.
We'll know if you watch the podcast now.
But yeah, well, we'll find out if he actually watched or listened. I'll tell a quick Jurgen story in a minute. Before I do that, you also have a side hustle, if we would call it that. Is that what you would call it, a side hustle, or is
Lots of side
this
hustle. According to ChatGPT, when I ask it to roast me, it's like, "You're doing banking and an Etsy shop," and then but yes, which one are you referring to now?
Well, so I'm under the impression that you have a burgeoning Hollywood career side hustle. Is that something that's going on right now as well?
By, this time next year, I think, I did just have my first foray into, Hollywood, and I don't know if you're a fan of Bad Monkey or Vince Vaughn. If you're not a fan of Vince Vaughn, we'll just hang out now. He's, like, literally
I
the
like
funniest
Vince Vaughn.
human,
He's really
but he's
tall, by the way, right? Isn't he like 6'6" or something?
super tall, super tall. He's, like, 6'5" or something.
Okay.
Not that so he was filming in the Keys. I live in Marathon normally. I'm in New Jersey today, but as of last night, but I live in Marathon and nothing really exciting ever happens down there. Like no one's down there. It's like it's a 2-lane road. I love it. It's my hideaway. And so it's very random. Vince Vaughn is like he's my hall pass. He's my favorite actor of all time. And like what are the odds of he was casting for Bad Monkey and I was supposed to be flying to New York, but it was a few weeks ago or a month ago now, like when all those storms came. So I was
Mhm.
like, oh, the universe wouldn't put him here and now I have to be gone. My flight gets canceled. So I was like, there's no way I don't get casted. So it was across the street from my house. And, they did some casting thing and I got cast to be the coroner, which is a very interesting role for me. My husband, because you mentioned that Vince Vaughn is so tall, they needed tall people. And I don't know if you know this part either, but my husband is also a South African former rugby player.
Okay.
So it's like I have a type across the board how
Right.
I work with them. They cast him to be a policeman.
Wow.
And so he filmed first and Vince was in he like got to see him and do all this stuff. And he's like doing a cop car spin out. And I'm at like a KBW conference in Boca and he's sending me all these photos. And then the next one he sends is like his knee wrapped and he's going to the hospital. He tore his quad off of his kneecap.
No
And I
way.
think it was just so I wouldn't meet Vince because we were supposed to be in the same scene, and then afterwards, the scene would be him again with Vince, and I would have gotten to go. But instead, I am a frumpy coroner in way too big man pants. The costume people were so disappointed when they saw me. Like, they're like, what? Like, this isn't gonna fit you. And then they thought it was hilarious. And so anyways, in December, it's my plug for Bad Monkey season 2. I pick up a dead body and put it into a van. And I'm pretty sure this is just the first of many roles because once Vince sees how good I am at this role,
Well, yeah,
it was easy to keep a straight face because I had no idea how to like lift this heavy thing. And because
that's
I'll let
so
you know
great.
the clip when it comes out. But yeah.
Okay, do that. Well, South Florida, extra in a show. My quick story is after I finished undergrad, me and a buddy, my dad knew some people down in South Florida and they gave us a place to hang out for a week. And so we went down to South Beach and, would hang out on the beach during the day. And then this guy was super well connected and he set us up with like reservations at these cool restaurants and nightclubs and all this stuff. And so we had just graduated. We went down there and just had a blast for a week. And so one afternoon we had gone out to, I don't know, like get a coffee or something, probably a Red Bull just to start getting ready for the evening. And we're walking back and there's all these, they've got the road blocked off and we're like, what's going on over here? And so we go and we start looking and we see David Caruso and they were filming CSI Miami. And he had the glasses on, the whole thing. And so somebody came walking by and they're like, hey, we're looking for extras to stand over there. There was like in this episode that that jewelry store was just robbed and we need people, we're going to pan down. There's like, it was robbed, someone was killed. And so as they pull, as they're on a gurney taking a body bag out and he's standing out there with it, David Caruso standing out there, like, we need you guys. And so us and a few others, we're standing there like looking, they're like, act like you're trying to see. And so, I mean, it's really quick pan down the line, but we made it in there.
You can
But
pause
that
it.
wasn't cool enough for us. And so what we did was we made a little video. This is like pre iPhones. But I'm gonna be honest, we had a video camera. And so we made a little video where we zoomed in and showed David Caruso, like I think he opens up the bag and then he shakes his head and he zips it back and then they take it off, and so I filmed that and then cut to myself and I'm like, this is so cool. We just got to be extras in CSI Miami. Like I was behind the thing, but guess what? This guy got to be in the body bag and my buddy had dumped a bottle of water on him and he looked all sweaty and he goes, it was so hot in that body bag, and so we filmed this whole thing.
This is the old school version of how you used to have to do this, right? And
Oh
now
yeah.
you can just be like, "Hey, Grok."
Right. Yes. This was like took so much time to have and then we didn't get to send it to anybody. Right. It's like we had to come back and go,
And
hey,
then you have to
anybody
have
want
that
to
one
watch a
stuff where
fun
you
video we made?
put it on the VCR. You have to have like the thing off to the side. You know what we should do? So when at our annual event this in October, over Justin Fisher, another Portco with Risk Scout, he has an IMDb page. He
Really?
so we might just have a new show on our hands
I did not know
where
about this.
we
What
take
has
all
Justin
the
been on?
talent of our Portcos and partners.
I'm gonna have to ask him about this. That's a whole new
Yeah, he was
side I
a
did
real
not know.
actor. He was a real actor.
Really?
Not that we aren't, but
No, yeah, I definitely am not. Actually, really quick side note, when I was flying up to New York recently, I got interviewed in the Birmingham airport. This guy goes, hey, quick, actually, as I'm walking by, he had the camera set up and I'm walking by and I go, you're going to get my best side, buddy. And I walked on past and he started laughing. He goes, wait, let me interview you for a second. I come back and he says, blah, 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 with the partial government shutdown, like, what are you expecting for security lines? And I'm just like, there's like 4 people on the line. Like I'm not worried about it. That's the reason I'm stopping to be interviewed. And but so he, but he cut out the best part. It didn't make it onto the air. He goes, he's interviewing me. He says, "Hey, they're saying in Houston right now. They're saying if you are flying with spring break, you need to show up 5 hours early. What would you say if they said you need to get there 5 hours early?" I said, "I would drive." And he goes, "That's actually a pretty good answer." And then he cut that from the thing. I was like, that was the best part. So my best line for the NBC News in Birmingham got cut. And I think he was, I think what he put me in there was I was like, yeah, I'm going to show up 2 hours early when I'm flying back just in case in LaGuardia. And I did. I got there 2 hours early and there were like 7 people in front of me. And so I had to kill 2 hours having breakfast and drinking coffee. So anyways, long story short,
but
I've been on the
imagine where you
news,
would be if they had kept that line in, right? Like,
right? Yes. This
there
could have
may
like
not be earned wage access. Well, I guess that was recent, but
I could have an IMDb page is what I'm getting at. I probably should after these 2 appearances. Um,
yeah, when
okay,
I set
well,
up mine, we'll rinse and repeat. I'll learn the
we
ropes first.
let's all collaborate on what that'll be a fun conversation this October of when we can all talk about our brushes with Hollywood.
We'll do skit night.
Yes, that's an even better idea. Yeah, I don't know if the LPs are gonna love that. They might just be looking around going, "What are these?"
Ryan will.
Yes, that'll be good. Okay, well, we'll land the plane here. I know we're at about 30 minutes and we went way off topic, but hopefully that was fun for less business, more Hollywood's business. Come on,
Yeah, different vertical. It's refreshing.
right? So okay, we'll land it on a business front. As you look out over the next 9-10 months left of 2026, you've mentioned AI a few times. We're obviously talking a lot of fintech. Anything that you see kind of on the horizon that you're excited about, that you're not excited about, kind of anything you want to share about what's coming in 2026?
Yeah, I'll say as much as I do love AI and I know that's like the chatter everywhere, but I am also insanely passionate around the opportunity for banks and that tokenization brings. So I can geek out. I have like this huge thesis that I've just been working on to kind of like figure out how to distill my thoughts into consumable information. The idea that you can tokenize any asset or you can have the portability of, like if you can lend against Bitcoin, you can lend against, an item that you own without having to liquidate it.
Hmm.
But also not even on the stable coin crypto side of things, if you can track and have transparency and trust that's portable. So think about like equipment financing or the double pledging that's been going on, right? You got to know there's way more going on of
Yeah.
that that's going to come to light. But as you can attach, this is with a whatever it's called, the code on the side of equipment. If you could say this is like Kelsey's car, we can check this database and then no one else can say they can see, okay, this has already been pledged to this bank, right? So you
Yeah.
can track things and you can find this transparency and that you can trust on the blockchain because it's immutable. I think that the bank can play a really pivotal role of they're already checking these things when they certify your loan and they make sure that you are who you say you are, that these assets do exist. And if they can record that in a way that it's accessible or that it updates even with a smart contract of
Hmm.
depreciation, like
Right.
then you're taking out all of these check and recheck and the next time you need something, the next person has to go make sure that it's true. So you're like saving money, you're mitigating risk, and you're allowing the bank to move faster and bank their customer in a totally different way where you have not just their checking in this loan, but you can see their entire like portfolio of their life, right? They have this,
Right.
if you've ever had, sadly, my father passed away, but if you've ever dealt with that, you have so many assets in different accounts and things that you can't see in one full picture. And I think that there's just really cool applicability of tokenization across the board to make things more transparent and more truthful, because I just think the opacity and sometimes we feel really good, and then what was the Jamie Dimon quote about cockroaches when you see one? It's often when we feel our best and the confidence is at the highest that
Right.
we start overlooking or assuming things are better than they are.
Yeah.
But I think that there's definitely exciting when you combine tokenization and AI. I think then you have a fundamentally different, faster, and safe way to change banking and to allow the customer to do different things than ever before with capital and all of that. So that's my
Cool.
geek moment.
No, that's great. I think it's cool to hear you say that, because when you talked earlier about the intersection of fintech and banks, it's like the things you're saying, I would feel pretty confident about saying that there are very few banks in the US who are going to have people who truly understand all of what you just talked about to a level that you want them to go lean into that, versus finding fintechs who go, we understand these things. This is what we do 70 hours a week. And we're going to come in and help you do it and make sure that we get this out to your clients and make sure that it's helping you run a more efficient and tech forward bank. So it's really cool to see those things kind of come together.
Yeah, and I'm working on my doodles for that. But I think that you guys, like what you do with the media, is also just a really good example of finding a new way to bank the customer and to meet their needs. So I feel like that's kind of what I get the most excited about, is like, what does the customer need at the end of the day, and how can we use technology now to provide that access to capital or to simplify something at a difficult time where you're like, okay, I can actually figure this out, or I can get access to money when I need it. So I think we'll see a lot of change in the next, even 3 to 5 years. And I get very excited about that stuff, as you can tell.
Well, cool. Well, thank you again for you guys' support of Immediate, and thanks for being here with me today. This was great.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. And we'll talk to you next time. See you, everybody.